Dennis is the oldest of 7 children. His parents never owned a home. By the time he was 17, he lived in 21 different places, including a couple of cars. He really grew up in abject poverty, and at the age of 20 decided to run for office. And he really wanted to serve the community and to really lay his life out in service, which is why he's really conducted himself in the way that he has. Never taken corporate interest money, never done that, never been bought or sold or even for rent. And so at the age of 20 he ran for council, and he was an unknown name, no money, no anything, but he knocked on doors, and he lost by just something little like 600 votes against an enormous ward machine. Well, he ran again. He was still a full-time student when he won his first council seat at the age of 23, and he was in council for a number of terms.
In Cleveland?
In Cleveland. That was at the age of 31 that he was elected into that position on the promise to save a municipally owned electricity system that they call Muni Light. And there's a lot of stories about what happened around that time. I'd like to tell you a little bit about this story because it really lays claim to really who Dennis is. He was elected under the promise to save this municipal electric system from being purchased by the private utility company, which would have gained monopoly in Cleveland should they have done that. And this is really important because the municipal electric system had rates which were 30% lower than that of the private utility. And he knew that if they'd sold, then the utility would gain a monopoly, rates would go up, and then families like his just wouldn't be able to survive. And he was in the boardroom when he was elected with the head of the largest bank in the area, and one of the largest banks in America, who said to him, "You've got a choice. You either sell us, or give us, was what they were demanding, Muni Light, and we will extend the city's credit by $50 million. You will build what you like, you will do what you like, you'll be on the fast track to the presidency, you'll be an overnight success, it will be great. Or, if you do what you say you're going to do and you're not going to sell Muni Light, then we will put the city of Cleveland into default over $15 million worth of loans that he had not taken out, the previous administration had taken out. They wouldn't take tax revenue for it, they wouldn't take buildings or property for it, they would only take Muni Light. He refused to sell because that was the promise that he was elected under. And then the corporate community, the banks, all of the media, and everyone around really gathered up and said, he's done the wrong thing, he's ruining the city, etc., etc., even though he wasn't. And they turned the people against Dennis. He lost his re-election campaign. There were 3 assassination attempts. He lost the re-election campaign, and he went into the political wilderness for 14 or 15 years. Couldn't get elected to any other place, couldn't get a job. He was just completely, red or blacklisted or whatever you call it. Okay. And about 15 years later, 1993, 1994, Muni Light, still publicly owned, underwent the largest expansion of any electrical system in the country. And people started to look at the accounts, and they found out that their city in that short time had saved over $200 million on utility rates. And then they said, well, we wouldn't have this unless Dennis had stood up and said no to the sale. So they called him back, and then he ran for state senate. And in 1994, he was the only person in Ohio, the only Democrat in Ohio, and I think in the country, to win a seat from a Republican incumbent in a state election. And then in 1996, he ran for Congress, and he beat the Republican member of the House leadership, who was in Gingrich's administration then, to win that seat. And he's gone on ever since. That's what he's been doing. So he's always organized the community and worked with the community to save things like the steel mill. We had thousands and thousands of jobs in Ohio. It's an industrial area. And he is someone that works with the community, not someone that the community has to lobby to listen to them now and again. And so he's saved hospitals, he's saved the steel mill. When all of the other steel mills were closing down after the passage of NAFTA, Dennis saved the steel mill, stopped the furnaces from being shut down with a court injunction, got a new purchaser with the community, rallied everyone around, saved that steel mill. It is now, which is amazing, the flagship steel mill of a global enterprise, steel enterprise, and it's their flagship facility, which is absolutely incredible, and it's in the heartland of the Midwest. So this is someone who really, like, when everybody else says this is not possible, like you can't save Munich, you can't save that hospital, you can't save that steel mill, he is the one that sees a different possibility and calls it forward. And the way he does that is by working with real people.
Anytime that you walk right in, don't you know that we can find a way? We can do it today.